So today feels like a day to not wear garden gloves, not hold a rake or any kind of power tool, and get out and enjoy one of the nearby villages. I'm going to head off to Zukon, a quaint little ancient medieval town about a 30-minute drive from here. I am going to make a stop at the grocery store before I go to Zukon, but I wanted to show you our neighborhood chateau first. It's here on my left. I actually believe it's up for sale right now because chateaus are not cheap to maintain. So we're going to be sticking with our little farmhouse. And French grocery stores are really like any other with a few differences, such as obviously the cheese aisle is going to be magnificent. And even the yogurt aisle is something to behold. I really admire this country and their relationship with dairy. And of course, the bread department is another wonder. And I don't really think there's much of anything I can say that will add to this or really give it due credit. And lastly, a swing past the pastry section because pastry. Jugan-les-Lacs is a petit cité caractère, which is essentially a designated heritage city, and they're found all across France, generally small towns where they're preserving the heritage and the buildings and the charm. We actually found it, stumbled upon it when we were looking for something entirely different and not necessarily related to character and charm, but to one of my other favorite haunts, which is a charity shop. The best one I've found so far in my region, my favorite place to go when I've got a little time to myself. I am a thrift shop junkie and I love to poke through things and look for treasures. Ooh, now this is tempting. Well, I think I've gathered my bounty for this trip and I'm ready to head to the checkout. I scored and got this book that's been on my to-read list for quite some time, and it's in English. What I like about this shop is that it's run by British people, and so there's a lot of English books. My French is fairly adequate. I can make my way through life. I can order in a restaurant, have a conversation with the neighbors or the doctor, and I can certainly hold my own in any boulangerie you throw my way. But for recreational reading, I still kind of like English. And then the other thing that I got was this stoneware bowl, heavy pottery. And it's going to be perfect for mixing and kneading my bread dough because I like something deep and ceramic. It seems to not stick as much as it does with plastic. And the price tag of €2 is just what I like. So €2 for my bowl, €1 for my book. I'd say it was a worthwhile trip. Now on to my next stop. I have enough time that I think I'm going to visit one more place. It's an abbey that's not too far away called Abbaye de Boquen. The current structure on the site was restored in the early 20th century, but there are areas that date back to the original use on the site, and that was in the early 12th century. This has become one of my favorite go-to haunts since arriving here. I certainly love the history of the buildings, the beauty of the ruins, and just knowing that it dates back to the 12th century is mind-boggling to a Canadian. But I love the nature as well, but especially love that it's usually deserted when I come. It's rare for me to see anyone else here. And I think that's really indicative of what France is like. It's so known for the Eiffel Tower, Notre Dame, the Arc de Triomphe, and people flock there, and there's crowds, and it costs you a fortune to get in. And meanwhile, the rest of the country has so much to offer. Every single region has its own ruins and cathedrals and monuments, beautiful scenery. Every village has a gorgeous church. Every city has a gorgeous cathedral. And most of these places, you can have them pretty much to yourself. If you want to see an amphitheater, the city of Nîmes has a beautiful Roman amphitheater that rivals the one in Rome, minus the crowds and the steep admission price. I wouldn't say not to go to Paris. It's certainly a once in a lifetime place, and if you have a chance to see it, you should. But I've never thought that it's the best that France has to offer. Paris is one France, and then the rest of France is another France, and that France is my favorite. Well, now I'm home with my new bowl, and so I think it's time to christen it with some pizza dough. Our weekly pizza night is actually a tradition we brought with us from Canada. We've probably been doing it for 20 years. It's taken me pretty much that long to perfect the recipe. But I did find when I got to France that I ran into troubles because it turns out French flour just isn't the same as North American flour. It's more glutinous. And so all of my recipes for doughs and breads were complete fails when I first got here. They were too gloopy and gooey and sticky, and it was heartbreaking because, as I said, I spent years perfecting these recipes. So after a lot of trial and error, what I finally did was search for French recipes online and abandon the North American that I've used all this time because I just couldn't get it to work. And so I found a basic French pizza dough recipe that works fine for us, and now it's our weekly go-to. So I guess that's my day in the life video. I wouldn't call it a typical day because honestly, I don't think I've experienced a typical day since 1995, but there were no serious injuries. Nothing went terribly wrong. So it was a good day. I like having these days when I can just tootle around and do a few errands and have a bit of time to enjoy the area that I'm living in and still find a little bit of magic in what I'm doing and seeing. I'd like to think that if a local French person found themselves in Canada or somewhere else where I've been, that they would find as much intrigue and magic in the day-to-day things that they're experiencing as I do here. Thanks for watching. Next week, I'll be back home again on the property. We'll be touring the yard, the outbuildings, the murder sheds, and all the creepy dangers that lurk within.